Hi Bex, how you doing?
Good. I'm getting
So
you.
You might be doing only 10 minutes 3 times a day, but it's taking a lot longer than that, I imagine.
Yeah, perhaps to the untrained eye, it's just a load of movements thrown together. But as we know, that's really not the case. No.
I thought it was really important we just had a bit of a chat, just to give professionals the idea of where this came from, apart from a large glass of wine and a chat on Saturday evening on Facebook Messenger. Make Movement Your Mission is not an exercise program to be followed. It's not an evidence-based program to reduce falls, and that never was the purpose, was it? It was always about changing habits for movement in older people.
And if you, interestingly, other than two slips of the tongue across these 7 days, 3 7-21 sessions so far, I've not mentioned exercise. I've not mentioned falls, the F word, and I've not mentioned the 2 words older people. What I have mentioned a lot is movement minutes, accumulation of minutes, breaking up sedentary time, that these minutes are in addition to all other activities that are happening. We're talking about routines, about prompts and cues, not about teaching or instruction. So yeah, as you've said, it's about the professional practice of delivering movement to people, and more about changing routines in this period of time that we find ourselves in, really. Yeah.
And I think the important thing here again is the reason we've done this, rather than just come up with an hour exercise program that they can join online, is that most of the people in this have not had any form of assessment. We don't know what level they're starting at. We have no idea what their strength and balance capabilities are, their medical conditions. So we've deliberately chosen movements which are functional, improve flexibility, circulation, will help strength because they're functional. But the whole point here is just, as you say, to change habits, isn't it? It's to try and engage people who are currently in self-isolation, many of them not seeing people. So they've got their own little community they can come and chat to, share their successes, which is lovely. We've seen quite a lot of those already in just a week. And it just shows us that regular movement makes a difference. It doesn't, we're not talking fall prevention here. We know we need a certain dose and that sort of thing for that. What we're after is people who haven't engaged in these sorts of things before and don't have I suppose something they can just grab, a little thing that says, I'm used to, I know what to do. They don't know what to do. And so I think that the whole point of this is, as you say, to change movement behaviour, to embed some of the things into everyday activities, to try and make sure that we don't just see a tsunami of fractures as people start falling because they're not moving. And
just to add into that, Dawn, you mentioned the functionality here, and I think it's important to also highlight that when we talk about moving more, all of the movements that we do within these sessions are essentially already embedded within activities of daily living. And really my aim or our hope in this is just to raise awareness to people that, oh yeah, I do turn or I do lift my arm, and all we want people to do is continue to do that, perhaps in a more mindful way, so that those activities can improve and not decline. I think what we're talking about here, because as you've said, this isn't structured, tailored, targeted exercise. It is not that. And that is so critical. This isn't the answer to strength and balance programs to reduce falls.
No,
this is just the sit less, move more message, isn't it, really? And we've just done a chat about that, haven't we?
And we also know that in those who are quite deconditioned, irrespective of age, regular movement will have some physiological benefits.
Yeah.
Because, the lower your start point, the quicker you'll see something happen. So, for many of these people who are starting to say that they're getting out of a chair more easily, this is real. It's not placebo. It's real, because we are just encouraging them to do that movement more. And we all know that practice makes something better. So I think it's really key that people don't think this is replacing a strength and balance exercise class. The whole point really is, as you say, is to try and help people more likely meet the physical activity guidelines for health, because you are bringing in sedentary behaviour, physical activity, the importance of strength and balance. So it's and therefore it will have a wider effect than just falls prevention anyway.
And as well, do you think, I mean, we certainly didn't expect this response. I don't think any of us expected this response. But in seeing the connections that are happening and being forged and nurtured is no different from what we know about group cohesion and people doing the stuff, staying with their exercise programs, perhaps that are happening in the community. And I think all we are now further realizing want to support is, at the moment I am the face on the video, but we have and must support instructor workforces in localities, along with active partnerships and services, to hand this over at some point to continue. And we know, Dawn chip in here, that no successful exercise intervention is without motivational support, is it? It's the same here. Although this is not an exercise intervention, we're asking people and suggesting and inviting people to take up a different routine that involves movement. And that doesn't just happen because we tell people it's good for them, does it?
No, and although we do know from research that if they form a very strong bond with either the instructor or other people in the group, that can be as much of a motivator. It isn't necessarily about the benefits or how they feel during doing the movement. It's about being part of the community and sharing. I think the other thing that's really important is that if people that have done this can at least maintain where they are, when services get back up and running and people go back to the groups, they're not going to be starting from scratch again, we hope. The issue, of course, is that many older people can't access online, and we know we're only reaching a very small proportion. But again, you have to start somewhere, and let's face it, this is trying to support our instructors so that they don't end up contacting people that are basically no longer around to join in again because they've deconditioned so much that they've fallen and had a fracture or worse.
Yes.
And the other thing to remember is that we know from a lot of research that if somebody goes into hospital for whatever reason and doesn't move much, which is what happens when you go into a care setting, sadly, then you see falls, fractures, all sorts of things just going up through the roof, the chances of heart attacks, strokes, all sorts of things. So not moving, we know, is bad. One of the things that's really, really important in all of this is if we can stop some of the functional decline that's going to come because older people haven't got their normal routine of perhaps walking the dog or going to the shop to pick up their paper or going to the church event or getting up and moving on a somewhat regular basis, we're going to see a massive decline in function. So this, we hope, will be a short term for them ability to be something in a routine of movement regularly, part of a community, not their normal one, but one that's shortish term perhaps, might make all the difference for mental health as well. But we're back again to the whole point is this does not replace what's going to happen when all of this calms down and we have to do something with our services that is going to engage older people, because sadly we are those that we can't reach, and there'll be many will have declined in function, will become more dependent, will require more help, and therefore we need to just encourage people to think about who they work with and for, and do their best to support and reach out to every older person that they had contact with before and new one. Make movement your mission. The whole point is that you've picked movements which are safe for anyone, and as you say, are functional, so they can't do any damage.
I mean, as you can kind of see in the videos, it's not like a dictatorial sit down, follow me. It's okay, here's and the level of information, and I want to say accurate messaging, correct, accurate messaging with choice and options. Sit, stand, this way, you choose. So it's not a follow me, Pied Piper approach. And we're hearing this from the group, aren't we? That people are embracing this, and I think sometimes we don't give people credit for what releasing accurate information, and at a time like this, and which is why we're doing this video as well, I think.
And what I like is that I also noticed many comments of people saying, I've actually gone back now to some of the videos on YouTube or the ones in previous, and I can do the things that I was having trouble with at the beginning of the week. So a lot of these things we're having quick wins, which encourages people to stay with us. And that's, again, the important thing that we know in terms of adherence over time to a changed habit or routine.
Not to keep patting ourselves on the back about this, but also to say, you know, we haven't, other than I think in the initial introduction where we described who we thought perhaps this was for, you know, we haven't mentioned numbers. We haven't said over 50s, over 65, over 70. I've never mentioned age or older people during these sessions. Now, what we're seeing from that as part of this different world we're currently in is mums and dads and sons and daughters connecting, but also benefiting, and messages from, you know, independently active middle-aged people who are saying, I've never thought this much about how I stand or how I sit. So by keeping it as movement is universal. We all need to move, and we know it's on a journey to something else. We know what that something else is, but make movement your mission. Knows what it is. It does what it says on the tin. And it's not helpful if people call it exercise, workouts, and these things. So if nothing else, if this video could just keep us within the vocabulary that it's been very specific for us to put out. And I'm very mindful of it. I'm very mindful of it. The words are so important.
And as I say, if we can support the workforce, who at the moment, and many of them are twiddling their thumbs, wondering what the hell to do. You know,
we can start now, can't we? We can plan for success now. Absolutely.
And separately, for those instructors or services out there that employ instructors to deliver falls prevention programs, which of course have all stopped for now, we are putting in place, we will in the next few days have in place plenty of videos and resources to support them, because those people that are in their classes would have had a proper assessment, people will know, the instructors will know what level they're at, and therefore can challenge them appropriately at home, and support them with home exercise. Make movement your mission. The other benefit is it doesn't require you to have had that assessment, because it's not putting anyone in a challenging position that might cause damage. Let's face it. So we will be supporting those other sessions as well, and just to let people know that, because let's face it, this is a massive national agenda. In 6 months' time or a year's time, when we look back on this and work out how on earth we're going to change services, because we will have to. There won't be as much money in the system. It was already tight, but it's really, really important that we realise the importance of structured, evidence-based exercise for falls prevention, and this is not that. This is all about just making movement your mission, as you say. Lovely, and that was a good call on a Saturday night too.
And technically, really, in addition, isn't it? This is in addition to structured exercise programs. That's the other thing. Anyway,
people do this every morning in a warm-up, and then they go to their class later on in the afternoon or whatever. It's just additional minutes, isn't it? And more towards the wider health benefit of meeting physical activity guidelines.
The end.
But I'm still going to pat myself on the back, and I think you should too.
Give that arm support if you need to, and keep your head up.
Of course.
Thank you.